When it comes to cooking as a busy mom and wife, I do not shy away from simple recipes. I love tried and true recipes that deliver the same results time and time again. I love cooking meals and foods that I know will get eaten and not wasted, and meals and foods that are made from simple ingredients often found lying around in the pantry. So that is what I'm going to be sharing with you this week on the Bluegrass Family, so that you can get warm, homemade meals and foods on the table for you and your family also. My family loves simple meals. More often than not, we are eating a meat, a potato, and a vegetable. And for treats, we have cookies, sweetbreads, and simple cakes or cobblers. We eat lots of leftovers and do our best to use what we have on hand. I feel like that is kind of a lost and forgotten budgeting tool as well. Using one meat or item for multiple meals, cooking a ham for instance, and then using the leftover ham to add into potato soup or pinto beans, making a meatloaf and doubling up on the recipe so the next day we can have meatloaf sandwiches, whipping up some pancake mix with eggs, flour, and a little baking soda and salt with melted butter. I think we often feel this immense pressure when it comes to meal planning and prepping food, and I think that just comes with our culture and with the bombarded videos that we're constantly seeing online. But truthfully, if you find a few items that your family really loves and enjoys, then just continue to make those on repeat until you can do it effortlessly. Most of the meals that I make, I don't really follow much of a specific recipe, as I just follow what I've done for so long. For instance, I'm making a homemade sloppy joe. I add in tomato paste, some ketchup, some brown sugar, a few different seasonings, some water, and then I ended up adding in a few green peppers and red peppers and onions. I know that my family enjoys what I add into the sloppy joe mixture because I've just made it different times using these same ingredients. And so as you continue to do this and you continue to kind of morph your own way of making food in the way that your family likes to eat it, then you can kind of have these recipes just in a tab in the back of your brain to go to time and time again. I know that we all like to feel inspired from time to time, and we want to watch other people cook and make different recipes per se. But when it comes to down home, just regular Southern cooking or just cooking at home in general, often you are limited by what you have on hand, for one, maybe what you've preserved from your garden, two, the cost and the price of foods and items, and using less ingredients obviously is less costly. And especially when you're feeding a family that likes to eat, or a family that's working in a very physically demanding job, you have to be very wise about the way that you choose to create your meals. And sometimes that means cutting back on all of the excess ingredients and just making very simple, basic homemade meals. I've mentioned before how important that it is to me for my family to gather around the table and share homemade meals, especially in the evening after work, after a long day when my husband gets home. I want my family gathered around the table. And so one of the ways, like I've said in the past, to get everybody around the table is by having a home-cooked meal. It does not have to be fancy. It doesn't have to have 1,000 different ingredients or a very complicated structural appearance or plating or anything like that at all. It just has to be a warm meal with warm conversation with the ones that you love, with eye contact and connection and bonding. And that is what truly matters. Those are the true ingredients that are going to make your meals at home worthwhile. And so some of the simple things that I like to throw together for a family meal, especially for dinner, we do like a breakfast night where I'll make homemade biscuits. I'll make scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage. Sometimes I'll do fried potatoes and gravy. That is a simple meal that I can throw together pretty quickly. I can also do a homemade meatloaf pretty quickly. Yes, it takes about 30 to 45 minutes depending on how big your meatloaf is for it to cook. I can do homemade sloppy joes, a baked spaghetti. That's a very simple and affordable recipe, or something I just keep on hand and make pretty regularly. Taco night, that is a big hit at my house. Any kind of homemade soup, potato soup, chili, white chicken chili, pinto beans and cornbread. And so if you just I feel like I tend to make the same things over and over again. I do keep a list in my phone of all of the meals that my family enjoys eating. They're not fancy, they're simple, and I have made them so many times that I don't necessarily follow a specific recipe. I just make them the same way each and every time. And I know when you're first learning to cook, you do have to watch and understand exactly how to prepare meals. And I do encourage people who are new to cooking and making homemade meals to watch step-by-step instructional videos on how to prepare different items. And I do try to share full recipes of how I prepare some of our meals on this channel, so that it is helpful when you are learning to cook, of the actual breakdown and the steps of what I do and the ingredients listed. But when you're making homemade buttermilk biscuits, there's a recipe on the back of the bag, and I use the White Lily self-rising flour. So the recipe is literally on the bag. And so when I pour my flour into my jar that I store it in, I've cut out, now I know the recipe by heart, but I cut it out in the beginning and stuck it onto the front of the jar when I was first learning how to make homemade buttermilk biscuits from scratch. And the same with cornbread, but I actually leave the cornbread recipe on the jar, and I've learned that I can add different things into those recipes. Like with the biscuits, I can do a sweet biscuit with cinnamon and some other like honey, butter, different things like that. With the cornbread, I can make it a spiced cornbread with jalapenos and cheddar, or I can add in green pepper, corn, diced chilies, anything like that. I've learned that if you have kind of a foundational recipe to go off of, you can play around with it and figure out what you can add into it, what your family enjoys. That's been really, really helpful for me as I've been on my journey of learning to cook over the last decade of being a homemaker. When I'm preparing breakfast at home, I'm trying to get it done quickly because we have chores to get done, we have homeschooling to get done, and pancakes is a pretty regular occurrence here in the mornings. We will do pancakes, sausage, bacon, and scrambled eggs or fried eggs. We do lots and lots of eggs, whether it's fried eggs, omelets, scrambled egg burritos, a homemade quiche, or we have just like homemade biscuits and gravy with sausage. Those are our main breakfast items. I know that it might be different depending on who or what channel you're watching, but here where we are and what I have just pretty much been making since I've been a homemaker and had kids at home are just these simple items. Now, there are times when we'll have leftover banana bread for breakfast, or we'll have toast in the toaster, things like that. But I don't do a lot of yogurt. I don't do a lot of granola. I don't do a lot of things like that. I do make a breakfast casserole here and there with different, if we have leftover bread, I'll do French toast, or if we have some shredded hash browns, I'll do hash brown cheese, gravy, sausage or bacon, egg type casserole. So those are all different things that I have learned to just make on repeat at my home. The overnight breakfast casseroles are really handy, especially if you have company coming or it's a really busy morning and you need to get everybody fed in a quick way. You can make that the evening before and then just pop it into your oven in the morning. But those are the classic breakfast items that we have, and you can make most everything that I mentioned, especially the pancakes and the biscuits and the French toast, with items from your pantry: flour, eggs, butter, sugar, salt, baking soda, baking powder. Those are the main ingredients, and like I said, the foundational ingredients that you need to be able to create different meals from. When it comes to lunch, I have always been the type of person that enjoys having leftovers from the night before, or making something like a big pot of pinto beans, or a big thing of spaghetti, or throwing together some pimento cheese or an egg salad or a chicken salad, anything like that that I can keep in my refrigerator that will keep for a couple of days. I like to have those types of things just made in the refrigerator. I'm not perfect at doing this all the time, but I like to keep things like that, because if we're hungry or we need a snack, or we have just flubbed dinner for the night and we just need something quick, it's good to have those types of things that you can also just throw together. Like I've mentioned before, we have an endless amount of eggs, and so egg salad is a great thing to throw onto some sliced bread and have that for a lunch sandwich or for a quick snack. Chicken salad is very simple to throw together with chicken, mayonnaise, celery, onion, some nuts. You can have a very quick chicken salad. And anything that keeps well, meatloaf is great leftover, sloppy joes is great leftover, any kind of pasta is good leftover. And so since I have a family to feed, I like to just make a lot for dinner so that we have plenty for leftovers. That's just something that I've learned and have done. I grew up in a large family, and so we always ate leftovers. We always had extra made for dinner, and so that has just kind of been ingrained in what I do now as a home cook myself. My kids absolutely love anything with banana in it. It's funny because I buy bananas pretty much every single week, and if they don't get eaten throughout the week, then I will freeze them, and that way I can use them in banana bread, because they love banana bread. They love banana nut muffins, and so I feel like I'm constantly making banana bread, banana nut muffins, or blueberry muffins. Like I said before, muffin mix, cookie mix, all of that can be made from the same ingredients: all-purpose flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt, sugar, eggs. If you have those items on hand, then you can throw together some homemade muffins, some homemade cookies, some homemade breads, and it just makes your life easier having those things on hand. And so I don't like to see things go to waste. If I can use the bananas in a banana bread, then I want to do that. And also, it's just one of those classics. I feel like a warm, delicious homemade banana bread is absolutely satisfying and amazing. And so I enjoy making things that my family loves, and this is just one of the things that they do love. And I feel like it's a simple recipe. It's so easy to throw together. Every time I make one, I'm like, that literally took just a few seconds to throw together, and it makes 2 loaves, and so you can snack on that through a couple of days, or you can throw together some blueberry muffins and you can have those for a few different days. And so I see different people making lots of different types of snacks, but these recipes are classics. They're simple, and people have been using them for a very, very, very long time to feed their large families. I already talked about pretty much what we have for dinner, and I've mentioned that we grow our own garden every year, and then we also go deer hunting. We have chickens that we raise, we have pork that we raise, and so I'm really thankful that we do have those meats on hand that we can throw into the Instant Pot and cook down. I think if you've been watching the channel for very long at all, then you have seen me use the Instant Pot and the slow cooker like crazy. And that's another way that, as a busy mom and busy homemaker, I can get a meal on the table in a lot quicker way. Even if it's not frozen, I can throw it into, or even if it's not thawed, I can throw it into the Instant Pot with a little water and some seasonings and cook a chicken down really quickly. And so that's a great option also. But one of the things that I've started doing over the last several years is adding in frozen meat that we'll have from either the deer, the chicken, the pork, putting that in my fridge and letting it thaw like at the beginning of the week, so that it's not necessarily that I have something in mind that I'm going to make with it. It's just already thawed and ready to go. I've got a couple of ground venison in my, I think about 1.5 pounds each, so 3 pounds total in my fridge right now thawing, that I'm planning to make a really big meatloaf with. And so we're going to throw together a meatloaf, or I'm going to throw together some burgers and put them on the grill. Your options are endless when you have different types of meats already thawed. You have chicken, you can do white chicken chili, you can do a chicken pasta. So just kind of have those ideas. Maybe make a list in your phone of different ideas I've just listed. Maybe go through and just think of some of the things that your family really loves and make a list of those in your phone. Having that list is really helpful when you're feeling like you have this just block of what do I make. But I keep broccoli on hand and cabbage on hand, and I keep lots of different types of vegetables, and then we have some that we've preserved. And so if I just need to throw some green beans on, I can simmer those for a bit with some butter or some ham hock, anything like that. So as you continue to go through just the journey of learning more in the kitchen, I hope that you can kind of reserve all of these tips, because these are things that did not happen overnight for me at all. This was a long process of learning. I hope that what I've shared today has been helpful and gives you at least some inspiration or some ideas about how you can manage the flow of your cooking, or how you can get meals on the table for your family, and what I generally do. And so these are just tips and tricks that I've picked up over the years to get meals on the table in an efficient way and keep my family fed. So I hope you all have enjoyed this video, and I will see you on Thursday, not Tuesday, because tomorrow's Tuesday. So I'll see you on Thursday.